Biomutant has been on my radar for a couple of years since it was originally announced. The cute raccoon main character, interesting world design, fluid combat, and an open world RPG. This is exactly the kind of game that I'm looking for. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I've been looking all over the internet for any and all new information we can get on this title, and with the possibility of a release finally coming in the first half of next year, I think it's a good time as any to compile a list of everything we know so far. The information in this video comes predominantly from the Biomutant Steam page, as well as the PC Gamer article, which I'll have linked in the comments below. Let's go. Biomutant is in development by a new studio called Experiment 101 and being published by THQ Nordic. But what kind of game is it really? Biomutant is an open-world, post-apocalyptic kung fu fable RPG with a unique martial arts style combat system allowing you to mix melee, ranged, and mutant ability action. That makes sense, right? That's all we need to know. But let's break it down. So in Biomutant, you play as an unnamed furry raccoon cat thing. I'm still not really sure what it is, but for simplicity's sake, we're just going to call it the mutant. At the beginning of the game, you can customize your mutant's physical appearance, including your mutant's fur, colors, and markings, but the key difference in Biomutant compared to a lot of other character creators is that your mutant's physique will directly impact your attribute stats. For example, if you want to be more buff, you'll have like a higher strength. If you want to make some big brain plays, your intelligence will be significantly higher and you'll, have a big head. These attributes will affect everything from your movement speed, what weapons you're more effective with, weapon attack speed, social skills, you name it. This freedom in character creation should allow for some extra replayability in that on your first run, you might focus on being like a buff melee fighter, and on your second playthrough, maybe you focus on your psi abilities and ranged, for example. There's a bit of freedom there, which should hopefully develop into some replayability. Combat in Biomutant is where the unique flair of the game that Experiment 101 has created really stands out. Visually, combat is fast and fluid, and it's kind of inspired by comics with a lot of bangs and cracks popping up on the screen. They define combat as a martial arts style combat system, allowing you maximum freedom of movement and agility while mixing shooting, melee, and powers from your mutations, learning new wushu combat forms through progression and learning from masters you'll meet. We'll constantly add to your choices and make sure combat never gets old. The combat forms we haven't seen much on specifically in any of the trailers or the content that's been released, but there are different types of weapons which affect your attack combos from melee and ranged. The developers have also said that exposure to biocontamination in the world will lead to physical mutations like mantis claws and barbed tails, while exposure to radioactivity found in the bunkers from the old world will affect your mind and unlock psi mutations like telekinesis, levitation, and more. We have seen some of these psi abilities, however, that you can learn throughout the game. The best example is the bubble you can create around yourself that protects you from enemies and allows you to kind of like jump really high and slam yourself down on them. The demo I played, I got to use this ability and it was pretty fun. If you want my full thoughts on the demo, I'll throw up a card here so you can have a look at that. I like the idea of learning new techniques from different masters throughout the world. I imagine these masters will be members of the many tribes that are found in the new world. It mentions that you can either help or hinder the different tribes. It would be cool if you helped tribe 1, tribe 2 doesn't really like tribe 1, so it kind of locks you out of their master's combat forms. Creates a bit more player agency and choice into how you want to interact with the world, and it'd be great for replayability as well, but that's just my own speculation. Biomutant's story is focused around the Tree of Life. An oil disaster, whether naturally occurring or not, we don't really know at this stage, has covered the world in oil, poisoning the tree and threatening all life in the world. Your actions play a major part in unfolding of the story where end is coming to the new world. A plague is ruining the land and the Tree of Life is bleeding death from its roots. The tribes stand divided, in need of someone strong enough to unite them or bring them all down. You are guided through the world by a storyteller that narrates every step of your journey, but it's your actions and choices that decide how your story of survival ends. We don't know much about the story other than this, but from the information we have here, we can make a pretty informed guess to how the quest structures are going to work in Biomutant. The main quest, I believe, will be centered around restoring the Tree of Life and finding out how the oil disaster occurred, while your side quests will predominantly be focused on the many tribes, and the player agency will come from how you decide to tackle these quests, ultimately affecting the end of the story according to reports from Experiment 101, as there is apparently some form of karma system based on your actions, and and whether you choose to help or hinder the various tribes. As mentioned, all of the players' interaction with other inhabitants in the world will be voiced by a narrator. The narrator functions very similar to the narrator in Bastion in that he will comically comment on everything that the mutant is doing, but he will also handle all of the back and forth between the mutant and the NPCs in the world. In my demo, I met an NPC and the narrator handled all the verbal side of the conversation while I picked the dialogue options. The NPC just kind of stood there and made squeaking noises. I really like this feature a lot. The narrator has a very sarcastic, upbeat tone and is great to listen to in the short time that I played. Whether or not the single voice in the game gets kind of annoying over many hours of play is kind of yet to be determined because I don't think any of us have played it that long. In my experience though, it's a pretty funny interaction and it didn't really get that annoying in Bastion, so we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic open world and the mutant won't be just traversing this world on foot. In the trailers we've seen a mutant riding a wolf, but there is also forms of like mechanical creations that the mutant can pilot, such as an air balloon, jet skis, and mechs, which I got to pilot one in my demo. Another feature of Biomutant will be crafting your own weapons from the odds and ends you find out in the open world. Mix and match parts to create your own unique one-hand or two-hand slash, cross, and pierce melee weapons, revolvers, rifles, and shotguns, and add modifications like corkscrews and battery-powered chainsaw modules to biocontaminated sludge files, adding to your combat arsenal. There are even characters you'll meet that'll craft cool stuff for you like bionic wings, a jump pack, and even let you modify your automaton, the scrap toys sidekick. This automaton we know virtually nothing about. Whether this is the name of that cricket you see in the trailer with the mutant, I'm not really sure, but it's something to keep an eye on at this stage. The last item I want to touch on is a release date. I've made a separate video containing an update on the recent news we got out of THQ Nordic's parent company, detailing why I think it's coming next year. I don't really want to rehash everything I spoke about in that video. If you want to check it out, I'll put up a card here, but I fully expect Biomutant to be releasing in the first half of 2020. I would be expecting Experiment 101 and THQ Nordic to be putting out a release date and start the marketing cycle early next year. Anyway guys, that's all the major information we have on Biomutant at this stage. If you think I've missed something, put in the comments below for others to find out as well. Thanks for watching, my name is Norzza and have a great day.